Today in this video, I've gotten back to the wind turbine frames. And as you can see here, this is a plate that I wasn't quite able to bend. It would start to bend it when I pushed the press brake to its maximum. So I've decided to do it that way, and what it does is it puts this line here. Now initially I was thinking I was just going to cut this in half and then weld it back together. But Erom had a really good idea. I can just cut this piece here that I'm bending, and right here, fortunately I got a hole right here, so I'll probably have to cut offset and just bend this side and then this side, or this side first and then this side. That means I have half the metal to bend, and hopefully this machine will bend that half. Instead of 64 inches, basically 32 inches. So if this works, I won't have any problem. We can do all the work here. And then once I have all the pieces bent, then they'll simply be the cut that I will weld. So instead of having to weld all the way across, there's just a little bit of weld on either side. So it is time to try out and see if this works. And there's my cut. I'm going to flip this thing around, get it in, and bend the first part. Oops, fell off, and I sort of hit a little bit on that, but not a problem. Need to bend a little bit more to make the 90, so just keep going. Well, it's slowly working, but I've got to do more adjustments and keep tweaking it till I find the right amount on my screen here. I know I allowed it with a offset of 2. Probably have to go into negative because of the pressure. So that's what I'm going to do now. So make it -2. Now I'll work it and then we'll see what we get. Okay, I got it pretty much, but I noticed that our press isn't pressing uniformly. I'm at my 90 here and a little off of 90 here, which is not a problem. I can tap that in a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to bend this piece here, which means I sort of got to slide all the dies over. I really need to have a bottom piece and a top piece exactly the same, so I could go flip one way or the other, but I can't, so I have to readjust everything every time I do a new piece. So let's see if I can get this side done now. Well, I think it worked pretty good. I have a little bit of a height issue right here, and that is because when I pushed this one, I didn't have my die pushed all the way and it grabbed it and bent it up a little bit. So I'm gonna have to heat this up and then tap it down slightly. So now I'm gonna bend this one, and I'm gonna have to just bend it. Since that's my center, I'm gonna have to come off a little bit, cut maybe right about here, and bend each side. So once I get it all bent, then I'll get back to the video. Well, I got it to fit in for the block there, but I do have a problem. It's a little bit narrower on this side. Don't know where the problem arises. It looks like it's maybe bent a little bit, but I think I bent it just slightly at the wrong point. I think it shifted on me. And this was my practice side to begin with. So what I'm going to try to do is I'll try to still be able to use this. My first one had that little bit of an error. If I can't use it, I will simply cut another one, but I think I can just do some work with it. And in worst case scenario, on the Fortress, I can just remove just a little bit of the block just so that it'll fit on. But I think if I just tap it out with a hammer, I should basically get what I need. So I wish I hadn't made that little mistake right there, but the other side came out really well. And I do notice that on my lips that I'm going to probably, when I do my bending, it always wants to shift a little bit in to make it more narrow, and that's a problem. A little wider is okay, a little bit narrow is not okay. So when I go to bend it, I'm going to go to the far extremes on the next one. But it looks like this is a method that's going to work, and I will get back to that. So I'm going to end it for tonight, but this video is going to continue, so I'll start working on some more of it tomorrow. Well, I was about ready to leave, but I did some tapping with a hammer, and I got it so that it rests right down onto the cinder block, nice and easy. So that worked out pretty good. I just got to make sure I don't make another little mistake like I did here. It was like the first time I've really been practicing with that big press brake, but could use a little bit of adjustment on this because it's bending, pushing down on that side just a little farther than this side. So I got to talk to Iram around about that. So, all right, I'm done for the day. We were busy today. I'm back. And I am going to try today to put together the framework for one wind turbine. Earlier I tried to bend them, and that's as far as our machine would do it, but it gives me some lines so I can make the cuts and then bend it piece by piece. And I'm all set up here with the press brake. On this one, got some cuts, so I'm going to start bending all these. And when I'm done bending them, then we'll put together a framework today. So I'm going to be pretty happy with that. So I am going to get working. I'm halfway done now because I have to put them in the press at a certain way, so I can only do one side with my setup, but now I've like rearranged the dies so I can do these others right here. The reason is I have nothing on the back to stop. This machine has a problem with the back stop, so I have to do everything from the front. So let me just finish bending those. Well, I've decided I'm going to start putting together the framework. I've tested it with a block. It all slides in. These can be tapped out a little bit if it's a little bit tight. I was surprised how easy it is. Just can tap it with a hammer and I can open it up a little bit. So I have not yet welded any of the mid sections. I'm just going to hold off on that. I'm going to wait and do that after I get a lot of the framework in. But first of all, I am going to get it all put together in a square, and so I'm going to have to, a little bit stronger than tack welding. but I'm just going to weld on the side that goes against the block. I'm not going to weld on the inside yet until I get the whole thing true. But as you can see, my table's a little small, so I'm going to have to do this corner by corner and rotate and rotate. Well, let me get going on this. I've got the tack welds, and I've been starting to work on the main welds. I've got the thing all square, and I've just been going around and welding each of the corners slowly, not to heat up any one corner too much so it would get out of true. So just gonna keep welding, and got to finish like this bottom like here. I got to do some fill and then go all the way down, all the way around, and then flip it over and do the same thing. I've just about got all the welds I need to have done. Just need to flip it over, hit a few, do a little bit of grinding, and then we'll have to start, I have to cut a piece, actually several pieces, to hold the turbine to this frame. So I've got some of the pieces already, but one little piece I'll have to make on SolidWorks. Real simple. It's a rectangle, 2 holes. Really super easy to do. Got plenty of spare metal, and I will do that as soon as I'm done with all the rest of the welding and the grinding, which is probably another 10 minutes worth. Well, I've got it here behind me welded together. So I've got to take off for a little while, and I will come back and I will start putting in the cross member to hold the generator. So everything's looking pretty good. I just need to quickly make that assembly, put it in, and we'll see how everything looks. As you can see, it's a new day and I'm cutting new pieces for the wind turbine. I've cut out some, basically some plates. They're like giant washers to lock across these, since there's these grooves here. I want these to be able to go right in here across, so when you tighten it, it actually strengthens. It holds on both sides, since this is the only spot right here that the metal is connected to. So I've got these here, I've got those, and they will hook in right here, but they got to go across using this 1-inch rod stock. So I've got to cut 2 pieces of this 63 inches long. I just have enough for 1 wind turbine. Got that from NPS, just happen to have it. And I like the idea of having it solid rather than a tube, because I want some inertial weight where the generator is bolted to help dampen any forces that might happen if it gets out of balance. Because the lighter it is, the more it'll be able to bounce around more. So I'm going to use solid bar stock for the cross members. So I'm going to cut these pieces here, and then we'll get on to the assembling it. I'm now going to weld my square rod stock to the side adjustable plates. Now you probably notice now that the rod's really close to where the adjustment is. I was thinking of cutting out or gouging out a little bit here for the to allow it to slide fully, but then I did some other measurements and found that I'm not going to be that anywhere near that close, so I'm not going to bother. If I had to later on, I can just hit it with a grinder a little bit right there to make it fit. So I'm just going to weld it in the full thickness of the rod, and after that, then I've got like 4 holes to drill, and then we can install it in the frame and see how the generator is going to fit. Well, one thing I decided to do, drill the holes first. It'd be a lot easier to take these 2 pieces of rod over the drill press and drill the holes than to weld these ends and then have to go and drill it and then not be able to get it into the press. It's much easier drilling in the press. So I already drilled the holes and I already tack welded the ends on this, so we're getting really close now. So got it tack welded on this side, so then I'm going to flip it over. Wow, that's not a good thing. I just broke my little tack welds trying to rotate it over. So we got to do that again. I decided to weld the bolts to the frame right there and that on both sides, and it makes it much easier for having to remove this various assemblies, because you can just slide it in and pull it back out. So these should just slide right in and then be able to adjust back and forth. Little stuck at this point. I need 5.5 inch long 3/8 bolts, which I'm going to take a drive and pick them up. I was going to use that tubing that was over at Tractor Supply, but it was too thin wall, so I ended up picking up some 3-inch pipe nipples, and I'm going to cut the threads off, and I need a 3-inch length spacer. Pretty expensive having to buy it that way, but it's Sunday, I can't really do much. So I'm going to cut these, and that'll give us our spacers, and then I can bolt up the generator. Well, I took my adapter plate off, and as everything, my design is like a little weird. I didn't realize about the way the tabs and that the way I was going to have to mount the generator. So I'm not going to use the, I'm going to change this a little bit on the next one. On the next version, I won't need these spacers because I'm going to make this plate come out bigger right here, and so that the 1-inch bar can go straight across. But I'm just going to use the stuff I have for the first one, since it'll work with this. And the second wind turbine might not have this body. I might use the guts but then make my own body. So probably redo some things in a different manner. So, but I had to use that galvanized water pipe, 3/8 inch, because it's a heavier wall, makes for a much nicer spacer. So we got all the pieces. Let's bolt it up and see how it looks. Well, there's the setup. Generator is bolted in, and it goes here, and this thing here can be adjusted, so this bar can be adjusted anywhere in this space. If you flip it this way, it goes this way, and you flip it around the other way, it'll go this way. However, I need it to be recessed that way, so it comes out around that way. So now let's put on the blade. Just gonna put it on finger tight for now. But that's what the wind turbine looks like. Now, I am thinking in my head that I'll be using some sheet metal and cutting some radiuses so that the wind can't come through places where the blade can't follow. So I will probably be tracing out some sort of an arc here and put some thinner material inside there. But what I will do is I will design it for a blade that can be even maybe a little bit bigger. So, but there she is. In fact, it looks like sort of reminds me of the old fans that we used to have when I was a kid, but they were much smaller. They're like 1/4 of that size. It's really nice to see when a project comes together. So it's pretty nice. Oh, and these are my 3-phase out, and I would like to try to, I was thinking of actually modifying this housing so I don't have wires coming out, I have metal studs coming out. But everything seems to fit in really nice. So I am going to be looking at making my other pieces here. I'm trying to think, probably make that out of something less than 1/4 inch, or a 1/4 inch might be good enough. I might do it out of just 1/4 inch. Wow, it's coming along really good. So let me do some cleanup here and do some painting, and then we'll see where we're going to go from there. Been working quite a bit today. Got a few things I'm gonna have to do, but this is how far I've gotten so far on the wind turbine. It's starting to look good, and I love it when a plan comes together. So, still got some stuff to do to it. I've got to put some of these pieces in here to not allow the air flow in any area that the blade isn't moving. And I've got on the back side, we've got some big shutters that'll close this off and open. So I'll be working on that throughout this coming week. I'm just gonna have to order some materials for that. But it definitely is coming along pretty nicely. So I put a little bit of paint on it just so I can see everything. It's gonna need a lot more and a little bit more reworking. So I think that'll be enough for this video, for this wind turbine. And I really appreciate everybody watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notifications, and I will see you on the next video.